Hello? Anybody there? Planning completed. Let's hope this works out okay. Hello! I'm Orestria. I put up YouTube videos of HOTS, occasionally stuff about my life in Japan, and I also record the voices for Demon Axe Tales for my D&D campaign. Uh, Tomorrow, I turn 31. And for some reason, for my birthday, I decided to answer fan questions. This made perfect sense in my head. Uh, so let's get started. I'll try and keep my eye on the live chat if anyone comes in and has something else to ask, but I'm gonna start with the questions that were asked in advance. Yes, Demonac, I'm aware it's probably just you. That's fine. This will also be available as video on demand in the future, so anyone who's subscribed to my channel will get to see this in their subscriptions like normal. So, the first question. First question is from Curtis, and Curtis asks, please answer this question with only yes or no. Are you going to answer this question no? So, next question, also from Curtis. Curtis says, I'm a bit of a dice collector and I love seeing cool and weird dice. Since you're a gamer, I assume you have at least some. So show me your favorite dice, dice bags, dice boxes, etc. Sadly, as I live in Japan, pretty much all my dice are back home in Canada. And honestly, I don't know why, but I'm not a huge dice collector. I think I only have like 2 sets with 1 or 2 weird ones. I don't know why, because I collect about everything else in life. But I do have 1 special dice here with me in Japan. Well, actually, I have 2 identical dice. So it's just a little custom D6, and it's a Demonac custom D6. It's so cool. I don't play D&D in person to person, so I don't actually require dice here. The next question is also going to be from Curtis, and it may in fact be arguably the most important question of all. What's the origin of the name Orestria? I'm not even sure Demonac knows this one, honestly. Okay, so to explain, I'm the kind of author who's never gonna write a book. I constantly have ideas, particularly for fantasy novels, fantasy characters, all these things I'd like to do, but I never actually sit down and write, so it's never gonna happen. It's just like what goes on in my brain. And in the past, like in high school, I a bit more thought I actually would. Now I really don't think I ever will. And I used to keep lists of names that I would like to use. I'd watch the end credits of things, and pick out names that I liked from the end credits of things. I need to stop saying And I would also look at video game names. Now, I don't mean like the main character names like Cloud or Tifa or whatever. I mean if a game had like procedurally generated names. So it comes to pass that I'm playing Dungeon Keeper 2, which I think has procedurally generated names for your little critters. And I was writing down names if I saw any cool names. And I had a Dark Mistress, which is basically a bondage lady in your dungeon. And her name was Orestria. And I thought it was really cool because it sounded very feminine, especially the like stria part. But then it had a more like strong masculine start with like ore. And especially Japanese ore is like how a masculine man kind of says I. So I liked it and I wrote it down. And then sometime not long after that, I was trying to make a new account on a website, and my internet name at the time was taken. And I don't like adding numbers to the end or all those other things people do to get their name. And I looked over at that name list and I saw Orestria and I put it in and it was not taken. And to this day, it has never been taken on any website where I've tried to start an account. The only time I ever find I can't use the name Orestria is if I already had an account on that website and I totally forgot. Yeah, so that's the origin there. Um, the next question is from Joni, and it's actually a bunch of questions about D&D. So I'm just gonna call it D&D questions there. Uh, so Joni says, I understand you live in Japan. Do you play Japanese RPGs? Um, if we're talking about tabletop RPGs, no. I don't even know any, and I don't think my Japanese would be sufficient for that. If we're talking video game RPGs, yes, a lot. But I think I'll be talking about that more in a future question. Do you play tabletop or over the interwebs? I play on Roll20. I play with a bunch of friends from university. We used to live in the same house in university. We split the house rent like 6 ways, and we played D&D together, and we still do, but we don't live together anymore, so we do it over the internet. My current character is a Wu Zhen, Initiative of the Sevenfold Veil, and then a custom PRC to finish up to 20. We are actually level 20 in our current campaign. We're actually taking a mini break while we prepare for, like, actually the final boss battle of the campaign. This particular campaign has been a little bit more like a fantasy novel, like actually going towards conclusion, but we're at the conclusion, and it's really exciting. And I can't talk about my character for the future campaign because that is still a secret. And finally, do you DM? I do not DM. I had a bad experience attempting to DM in high school, which, looking back, was one of those, like, as a DM, you need to know you need to know what your players want out of the campaign. I wanted one kind of campaign, my friends wanted a different type of campaign, and then I got kind of salty, and it just didn't work out. I'm sure I could, but I prefer not to. Da-da-da. The next question is from Ian. And Ian asks, do you like drag queens? Yes, I like drag queens. I have watched every single episode of RuPaul's Drag Race, most of them more than once. I've watched All Stars, I've watched Untucked, I watch Willem's Beatdown on YouTube, I watch Mug on YouTube, I watch Photo Fashion Review on YouTube, I follow Wow Presents. Yeah. Admittedly, most of my experience with drag queens has been through, like, RuPaul and his shows, RuPaul's Drag U, all that stuff, but I love it a lot. I literally watched the most recent episode yesterday, so definitely. I think I would be an excellent contestant on Drag Race, except for the fact that I can't sew very well, and I am not a drag queen. But I like lip syncing. Something you're going to hear from me a lot in the next little while is this question is from William. Because William asked just about a million questions, but they were all very excellent. I have slightly reordered the questions William asked to make this a bit more fluid. So the first question is, why are you in Japan? Short answer, Japan is awesome. Like, awesome. I've been really into, like, anime and manga since middle school. I started listening primarily to Visual Kei J-Rock as, like, my main music genre in high school. In university, I started getting into Japanese fashion, like Harajuku goth street fashion, gothic Lolita stuff. It's I like a lot of Japanese things. I also like Japanese people. They're very polite. You know, they try their best to help you even if it's difficult. Um, mm, for sure. It's awesome. Next From William as well. What do you do for a living? I am a preschool teacher. I teach, my students are both Japanese students and students of an international background whose families live in Japan. Um, some of whom are native English speaking children, and some of whom are non native English speaking children, whether they're Japanese or Norwegian or French or whatever. It really is a full-time job. It's 40 hours a week. It's lesson planning and prepping and all that stuff, which is why in the past it was so hard for me to kind of commit so much of my free time to YouTube, which I'm doing now, or trying to do now. Next up, what other places in Asia have you visited? Well, first off, I used to live in South Korea for 3 years. And during that time, I did a lot of traveling. I've been to Xi'an and Beijing in China. I've been to Singapore, Hong Kong, both Kaohsiung and Taipei in Taiwan, Malaysia. I feel like I'm forgetting someplace. Japan a whole lot. Even when I was living in Korea, I was going to Japan. I've also been to places outside of Asia. I lived in Kuwait for a while. I visited Qatar and Bahrain and Turkey, and I've also been to France. And slowing down a little on the travel with my old age. Demonac in chat answering the "where have you been in Asia" question with all of them. Yeah, pretty much. This is a question that I think multiple people have asked, which is, how good is your Japanese? This one is kind of tricky to answer. When it comes to like everyday useful Japanese, I do have some. I excel at ordering at restaurants. I'm pretty good at like talking about an object and where it is in its relation to another object. Like, this is on the table. I'm not so good at asking like kind of questions that would come up in casual conversation, like, where are you from? What do you like to do? I'm not so great at that stuff. And I basically understand a lot more grammar than I am able to actually put into use. I keep reading Demonac's comments in chat. Stop it, you're too funny. That said, I also have a wide variety of absolutely useless Japanese that I have no use for in my daily life that I picked up from anime. Stuff like Zetsubo to Kipo, which is like hope and despair. It doesn't seem to come up in my everyday life. Ome o korosu, that's gonna get me in trouble. That's not gonna help me. I will kill you. When I watch anime, I am a person who, like, my brain says, like, oh, every time the subtitle says heavy, the characters say omoi. I guess omoi means heavy. So I've picked up a lot of random stuff, most of which is not very helpful. Are you currently single? Yes, very. I don't think I've dated in like 11 or 12 years. Yeah. I might just be forever alone, and I'm not sure I'm upset about that. Yeah, moving on. Are you a Monty Python fan? I would characterize myself as a Monty Python fan. I'm definitely not one of, like, the hugest fans. Like, I haven't seen all of the TV series, the Flying Circus. I have watched all of the movies, And I'm absolutely one of those people who has seen Holy Grail like dozens of times and can quote everything. Um, I definitely like that kind of witty, dry, sarcastic humor. I'm not a big fan of slapstick. I hate like cringe comedy and gross out comedy, which seems to be everything that happens in American comedy movies these days. Um, yeah. Are you into sci-fi? Um, I wouldn't consider myself like the hugest sci-fi buff or anything like that. And for whatever reason, sci-fi novels tend not to click with me. But I do. I have definitely watched some of those big sci-fi series. I've watched a lot of Star Trek. I've watched everything Star Wars except for like I haven't watched the TV shows yet. I love Firefly. And then a bit of a follow-up question in a way: Star Wars or Star Trek? Um, Back in the day, this used to be a clear-cut answer before the Star Wars prequels, because I definitely used to be more of a Star Wars person. I think I do not have a clear answer to this question. I think it totally depends on what property you're talking about. Because there's lots of Star Treks I don't like, and there's lots of Star Wars I don't like, and there's lots of Star Wars I really like, and there's lots of Star Trek I really like. For example, I don't really like the original series of Star Trek. I don't like the Star Wars prequels. I have not watched them since the first time I watched them. But I love the original Star Wars movies. I love TNG. I like Voyager more than any reasonable person should. I think it's the camp factor. I like some campy things. I haven't like read all the Star Wars novels or anything like that though. Do you know any programming languages? Basically no. I technically took a computer class in high school where I learned like Visual Basic. So again, for most intents and purposes, no. I'm pretty sure people don't even count Visual Basic these days. Oh my god. Favorite anime from the 80s, 90s, and all-time favorite. This one is tricky because I really don't think of anime that way. Like, I discovered when Demonak and I were doing some anime indecision episodes that I'm actually really bad at telling how old something is, honestly. Like, I thought Trigun was way older than Gundam Wing, and they were, like, contemporary. So rather, I'm going to kind of answer, animes I liked in the 90s, and then I'm going to talk about animes I like more in general. So in the 90s, my favorite shows were Gundam Wing and Ronin Warriors, and Ronin Warriors is actually awful. But in grade 8, I really loved it. It's literally unwatchable now. I didn't watch Trigun around that time, but I would say Trigun is one of the best anime of all time, and certainly a very good anime of that era. I don't think I've watched a lot of 80s anime. Like, I didn't watch, like, early Gundam Wing or, like, Lupin the Third. I definitely wasn't watching anime in the 80s as I was, like, 4. God. And then all-time favorite is hard, too, because, like, are we talking shows that I really think are good? Or are we talking shows that I have a particular, like, soft spot for? I definitely have giant soft spots for Prince of Tennis and Sailor Moon. I really like Kuroshitsushi, although it has so many painful parts that I have trouble recommending it to anyone. More recently, I really enjoyed Kill la Kill. I really enjoyed Symphogear. I really enjoyed Tokyo Ghoul. Kill la Kill, I think, is legitimately really good. Symphogear is just a lot of fun. Tokyo Ghoul, I literally haven't decided if it's actually good or not, or just somehow perfectly catering to me. Yeah. Yuri on Ice. Oh my god. Ugh. Ugh. Here's my Yuri on Ice collection. Yuri on Ice is awesome. I spent more money than I'm willing to talk about buying all the DVDs in Japanese RAW. These Japanese DVDs have 2 episodes. This is only a 12-episode season! And it's 6 DVDs, and they were each really expensive. Please make more Yuri on Ice. Half of the shit on my wall right now is Yuri on Ice. Love Stage, the big pink poster, that's my favorite BL. I feel like the people watching this are not super interested in boys' love, but if you are, Love Stage, really good. Next question. Again, this is all still from William. What gaming genres do you like? My favorite gaming genre by far is, like, Japanese turn-based role-playing games. Absolutely. Your Chrono Trigger, your Final Fantasy. I've played some, like, weird fan translation ROMs of some other things. Treasure Hunter G, the most generic JRPG ever, but, like, somehow really enjoyable. Yeah. And even outside of turn-based, it's still kind of like Japanese RPGs. I think Second Densetsu 3 is maybe one of my favorite video games of all time. Which is an action JRPG that I don't think got a North American release. I really like pretty much everything Final Fantasy. I really like Kingdom Hearts. Obviously, people watching this are like, why doesn't she say MOBA? She plays HOTS! The thing is, I had never played any other MOBA than HOTS. I never played League, I never played HON, I never played Dota. I didn't even watch a lot of those. Like, I watched a little bit of League, but... The next question was favorite game from that genre, and I've already kind of answered. Favorite JRPG in general, Second Densetsu 3. Favorite, like, turn-based JRPG, probably Final Fantasy 6. Yeah. Still on that video gaming kind of area, do you own any gaming consoles? Certainly nothing recent. I think my most recent gaming console is like a 3DS. I have a PS2. Growing up, our dad did not want us messing around with like the cables behind the TV, so he did not want us having a PlayStation, a Super Nintendo. I didn't even get my PS2 until I left home. I did play like a lot of SNES games using ROMs. Especially, again, like weird JRPGs that never came over to the States, because then I didn't have to feel like bad that I wasn't using the official version. I really want a PS4, but I don't even have a TV. And I'm genuinely not sure where I would put it in my little apartment. So... next, do you see yourself getting married and having children someday? Well, first off, as already established, I'm clearly going to be forever alone. If I did get in a relationship with someone and they were interested in getting married, I'm not opposed to the idea of getting married, but I'm not that little girl who's been dreaming of her wedding day her whole life. I really don't care if I ever get married. And have children someday? Absolutely not. No. No. I have my job, I go to work, I have my kids for like 5 hours, and then they go home to their actual parents, and it's perfect. I get just enough like cute kitty stuff, watching them grow, pride in them, and I don't have to like change diapers, pay for university, I can come home and cuss and watch crazy things, and it's all good. Next, are you a vegetarian? Very no. I love beef. I eat a lot of chicken. I like salmon. I don't eat a lot of pork, but it's not like a religious thing. I just don't particularly care for pork. If I do eat pork, it's usually in the form of bacon, and it's usually like on some other meat, like a bacon cheeseburger. Mm. But I have noticed in life that a large number of people who meet me think I'm vegetarian, and I've never quite figured that one out. It also happens that a lot of my close personal friends are vegetarian or vegan, and I'm perfectly happy going a day or two without meat. Like, I don't feel unfulfilled if I'm eating vegetarian food. But no, I like meat. Man, the next question is one I've thought long and hard about, and I still don't really have an answer. If you could be a Pokemon, which one would you be? Like, what do you go for? What do you do with this? Like, do I choose a Pokemon I really like because I really like it? Do I choose a Pokemon that's, like, super powerful so I can be super powerful? Like, do I just choose Mew because then you're, like, a psychic god? I genuinely don't have a good answer for this at all. If Eevee could, like, evolve and then devolve and evolve into something else, I would just say Eevee because you can just alter yourself. Demonac in chat suggests missing number. I'm trying to figure out if that's some kind of, like, super low-key insult or something. Because missing number doesn't do a whole lot. Dear Lord, yeah, I have no idea. How often do you get back to Canada? Where is it? There we go. Basically once a year. Yeah, once a year. It's currently pretty unfortunate because while I have 5 weeks off every year at my current job, I don't get to decide when they are at all. And the only time I have more than 1 week at a time is at Christmas. And the last thing I want to do is fly into Canada in December. No. Nuh-uh. No. So currently I usually go back for about 1 week in July. And going for 1 week is not fun, because you don't even get over your jet lag before you're giving yourself new jet lag. Next question. Actually, I think I'm going to put the next 2 questions up on the screen. How long have you played World of Warcraft and Horde or Alliance? I think the answer might surprise you. The answer to how long have you played World of Warcraft is about 8 hours. Excuse me, I have all the hay fever. I don't know if you remember this, Demonac, but Demonac and I were both at Dad's house. I don't know if Demonac was in the university or whatever. And it was the last day, and he was, like, packing and working on something. And I had expressed an interest in wanting to try World of Warcraft. I wanted to kind of try it before I played it. And he was like, hey, I'm not using my laptop today. You can totally, like, play World of Warcraft. And I basically played for 8 hours straight without a single break. And then at the end, Demonac was like, get off my laptop, I need to go to bed. And I was like, but I'm about to become a bear. And he's like, go away. And then I decided I would never play World of Warcraft because it would eat my life. I don't have a lot of life as it stands. I really can't stand to be completely devoured like that. This makes Horde or Alliance hard to answer because I don't have a strong affinity to either. I think I was technically playing Alliance. I think. What about hots? I like Malfurion and Tyrande and Brightwing, so that makes me Alliance, I guess. But I also like Thrall. Is Thrall... I don't even know, like... If you sat around quizzing me on who was Horde and who was Alliance, I'm pretty sure I would have an, like, unreasonably poor result. The next question... Dun, dun, dun. Your brother has mentioned that he only drinks Diet Pepsi. Do you do the same? First off, your information is wrong. Demonac only drinks Diet Coke. Get it straight. Do I do the same? Yes. Unfortunately, Diet Coke does not exist in Japan, so I'm stuck drinking this swill. When I go home in July, I will be definitely drinking Diet Coke, and I'm very excited for it. Next up, favorite food. Tacos, quesadillas, fajitas, Mexican food. I like Mexican food. Also, these. I have, like, some unholy love for Cadbury cream egg. You do not even want to know what I did. What I had to do to get this cream egg. This is my birthday cream egg, by the way. I'm eating it soon. So exciting. Oh, excuse me again. I'm trying not to die here. Along the same vein, favorite snack food. I'm actually not much of a snack food person. Like, I don't really eat chips or Pringles or pretzels or whatever. Demonac in chat pointing out, I love Mexican food. Moves to Japan. That's actually very astute because I really don't like Japanese food very much. But if you ever need a good Mexican restaurant in Nagoya, I can absolutely hook you up. I got you covered. Favorite snack food? I think the only thing I eat with any regularity that counts as a snack food is, like, popcorn. And even then, I don't eat it that often. Next question. How OCD are you? First off, I assume you're using this in the general sense of someone who likes things in a particular way and not actually asking about if I have, like, a psychological disorder, because I do not. The answer to how OCD are you... yeah, I think that's a pretty clear nope. At work, I'm very organized. At work, I'm very organized. I like labeling things. I keep to-do lists. I don't procrastinate. And then at home, I do the opposite of that. This is literally the cleanest my apartment has been in months. Because I've been trying to gradually work on being a bit better, but, Next. Thoughts on vampires? So broad. When vampires are done well, they're interesting and kind of cool, and when they're done poorly, which is most of the time, they suck. Yeah, I couldn't resist that pun. Yeah, I mean, there isn't even one official vampire anymore, like, does daylight kill them? Does it not kill them? Do they drink blood? Do they drink, like, psychic energy? Do you get turned into a vampire by being bit? Or does the vampire have to do some ritual? Yada, yada, yada. Like, yeah, whatever. I'm not particularly, like... I'm not like, I will watch anything with a vampire. But I'm not like, I will never watch anything with a vampire. It just totally depends. I don't even. Yeah, I don't even know what else to say there. Favorite movie? Another hard one. Um, I would say right now my favorite movies are almost anything in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I've definitely been all over those movies. Even the ones that other people like have not been super excited about, Ant-Man, Thor 2, I still had a really fun time. Um, favorite like long-term movies? um, well, if we think about like most watched movies, it's like Spaceballs, Search for the Holy Grail, um, Rocky Horror Picture Show. I like Rocky Horror Picture Show a lot. Um, as a kid, I really liked The Lion King and The Last Unicorn. Yeah, that's about as good an answer I'm going to give to that. Do you tan or burn? Yes, we are still answering questions from William. I'm not forgetting to change that. That is still accurate. I tan. I very rarely get sunburns. That said, I very rarely tan because I tend to cover up a lot outside. I use parasols. Um, uh, the goal is to neither tan nor burn. Next up, what advice? Oh no, I cut off a letter. Hat advice. What advice do you have for getting started with YouTube if you're shy? Probably just don't. um, if you're thinking of getting started with YouTube, like to try and make money off of it, don't. Um, it's very difficult to do. My videos are actually not monetized. I do this for fun. It's literally fun for me. Should be obvious by the fact that my average video gets like 8 views. I'm not in it for the views. I'm not in it for the money. Specific advice for being shy, I honestly don't know what to say because I am very much the opposite of shy. So I'm afraid I'm really not much help there. I think if the idea of making a YouTube and people seeing you is something that makes you uncomfortable, then just don't do it. You gotta love the process of doing it, or it's not gonna be enjoyable. Demonac shares some excellent hat advice with us. Wear it on your head or not at all. I agree, 100%. Next, do you own pets? Does this count? Growing up, our dad was allergic to pretty much any pet I was interested in having. So we never had one growing up. And then in university, it wasn't allowed in my house. And then I started moving from country to country, and I don't want to, like, what I want most is a cat. And I don't want to put a cat through that. I don't want to be, like, changing countries every 3 years on a cat. Like, that's cruel. They have to go through all these quarantines, they have to go through all these testings. Not to mention my apartment is relatively small. It doesn't have a lot of vertical space where a cat could like hang out and spy on me. So no, I do not have a pet. Next up, when you were little, what did you want to be when you grew up? This is going to be a surprisingly boring answer. I wanted to be a teacher, and now I'm a teacher. And the last question from William. Do you believe in fate and destiny? No. Nor do I believe in souls or deities or kismet or karma or anything of the sort. I'm not going to ignore you, Demonac. You're funny. And anyone watching this as a VOD isn't going to see your comments, so I'm going to share them. So, you know, you're going to have to deal with this. In the world of Pokemon, is the DMV run by EVs? Because then it would be the DMEV. I don't think Pokemon themselves can drive. And I don't want to know what a car costs, given what we know what a bike costs in Pokemon. Jeebs. Scary thoughts. Alright. We are on to the last set of questions. Da, da, da. These are from Tomajo. Okay, let's start with that for now. So first off, do you speak Japanese? A little bit. What's your job in Japan? I already answered that and that, but I did not answer, how did you get your job? It was... I had a different couple ways where I was trying to find a job in Japan. There are several just different websites, either for international teaching, and then you look for Japan, or specific to Japanese job websites. I can't remember them off the top of my head, because this was like 2 years ago. But yeah, I was sitting there, and I was constantly following new job ads until I found one that suited me both in terms of salary, job expectations, and where I would be living. And I applied, and I'm horribly overqualified, so they hired me. Seriously, most people getting jobs in Japan for teaching don't even have teaching degrees, and I do. So, the next question from Tomajo was, have you settled down permanently in Japan? I hope so. Obviously, I do not know what the future holds, but I have no current plans to leave Japan, and I will be a very happy camper if I'm here forever. Next up, who is your favorite Japanese writer? If we're talking about novels, I've only read like one Japanese novel translated into English, and I don't even remember the name of the author offhand. I mean, I'm definitely not Googling on this live stream. I don't know what you're talking about. The only Japanese novel I've really read is Battle Royale, which is written by Koushun Takami. But we can really broaden that out and think about like manga and doujinshi as well. In terms of general Japanese manga, my favorite author is Kaoru Yuki. Kaoru Yuki does very like kind of gothic fairy tales, sometimes with some romance thrown in. They tend to have a lot of blood, and a lot of main characters are gonna die, but I've always really liked them. In terms of BL, which I read a lot of BL, my favorite BL authors are the people who make Love Stage, Zhao Teji and... Shoot. I'm so bad with names. I am, again, definitely not Googling things on this live stream. Eki Eki and Taishi Zhao. They definitely make my favorite BL. Yeah. And next, the final question, unless someone suddenly comes in and starts asking stuff in chat. Aren't you scared of earthquakes / tsunamis / kaiju? I will say I'm somewhat scared of earthquakes, but not too bad. My research has shown that Nagoya is not, like, the most prone area in Japan for earthquakes. There have only been 3 earthquakes in the 2 years I've been here, and all of them have been like magnitude 1. Like if you were really busy, you wouldn't even notice the ground was shaking level of earthquake. I also went to this fire station in Ikebukuro in Tokyo, where they actually do earthquake simulations and earthquake training. So I went through a little earthquake training, and I do have an emergency kit set up. I'm not afraid of tsunamis. Where I live is actually relatively far from the ocean. It would take me 45 minutes by subway to get to Nagoya Port. So I'm not too concerned about that. As for kaiju, I feel like I have last girl potential, so I'd probably be fine. No, I'm generally not afraid of things that don't exist. Alright, that is all the questions we had scheduled, and so far, only Demonac appears to be in chat, and I have a feeling Demonac doesn't have a lot of questions for me, being my older brother, who, totally knows a fair amount about me. Speaking of Demonac, if you're somehow watching this and you're not aware, you should try my brother's Tales from My D&D campaign. It is a illustrated, semi-animated D&D series on YouTube. You can find it youtube.com/Demonac. It's incredibly entertaining, and I do a lot of the female voices on the series. Let's even center that. Can we set? Oh yeah. Oh yeah, center that. Yeah, highly recommended. All right. It does not look like there are any more questions for today. So, thank you for your questions. I think there were a lot of really interesting questions asked. I'm glad to be able to answer these things, especially stuff like why are you in Japan, how much Japanese do you speak, because I know those questions come up quite frequently. I'm guessing most of you are watching this as a video on demand, so thank you for joining us and sitting through it. Please feel free to like this video, subscribe to my YouTube if you want more, check out Tales from My D&D campaign at youtube.com/Demonac, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye!